Florida Georgia Line has had some massive country music hits. But now, it seems like the country band might be over for good.
What this night right here means to us is the closing of an incredible chapter for us.
Brian Kelley recently made a shocking confession on social media. He confirmed something that some loyal fans just don't want to believe. So is FGL really never getting back together ever again? Here's the real truth. People were always divided over Florida Georgia Line's music. Some little fans loved them, while other old school fans didn't.
Florida Georgia Line does not belong in the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Shockingly, Florida Georgia Line appeared to be over on August 31st, 2022. That was the day Tyler Hubbard and Brian Kelley allegedly played their last show at the Minnesota State Fair. The rumors had started in February of last year, and Tyler talked about those rumors in People magazine. Although it sounds like Brian didn't get Tyler's memo, because according to what Tyler said to People, Florida Georgia Line was not breaking up. So did Tyler think he was setting the record straight in that interview? Shockingly, Tyler said that taking a break was a better description. He even said that he and Brian were not going their separate ways. Again, Tyler claimed that they were just taking a break from making their music. Tyler's side of the story was, he and Brian were two artists who loved creating, but he also admitted that he and Brian had started writing without each other a couple years ago. That's an interesting confession to make. Tyler's first solo material got released in January 2023.
Jack makes good whiskey.
His single 5'9" quickly hit #1, and Tyler wasn't shy about telling People how he really felt earlier this year. Tyler said, "It feels good to be me." So was Tyler throwing shade at Brian? Or shockingly, was it the other way around? A country music site on social media put out what they called a hot take poll. Their followers got to vote on the possibility of a hot take. Did you see this hot take poll that got voted on? The poll said Florida Georgia Line will reform within the next 2 years, and the poll results were shocking. The majority of voters wanted Florida Georgia Line to reunite, although one guy disagreed. You won't believe it, but it was Brian who shut down that poll really quickly. Considering Brian's recent statement, you might not be shocked to hear that he wanted to take a break from FGL 3 years ago. Although Brian wasn't the one to admit that. Unbelievably, that side of the story also came from Tyler. During that People magazine interview, he admitted that Brian had pushed for a break in the fall of 2020. Tyler said that Brian really wanted to go into the solo space, and that Brian's heart was into doing his own thing. According to Tyler, he told Brian that it was great, and he wanted to support Brian. Tyler even confessed that Brian's decision worked out great for him too, because he wanted to focus on being a stay-at-home dad who wrote songs between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. However Tyler and Brian truly feel about their music partnership now, there's no doubt that they were one of the most successful country duos ever. But Tyler seems to have a problem with that too. He claims that FGL's success ended up hurting them. Shockingly, Tyler thinks that FGL didn't do a great job of introducing themselves as individuals. Tyler said some really eye-opening stuff. Although he said that Florida Georgia Line was a partnership, he also referred to them as a brand. Calling yourself a brand is way more corporate than country. So was FGL some kind of marketing gimmick? At one crazy moment in time, Florida Georgia Line had 3 songs in the top 5 on the country music charts. That was so insane that a guy at their record label released a public statement. This guy's name is Jimmy Harden, and he's the executive VP of Big Machine Label Group. He said, "For Florida Georgia Line to have 3 in the top 5 is absolutely nuclear. We send out a big thank you to all of the believers." Inside sources confirmed that Brian and Tyler were really friends. At least they were once. Brian was from Ormond Beach, Florida, and Tyler grew up in Monroe, Georgia. So they weren't childhood buddies, but Tyler and Brian did meet as students at Belmont University. This might sound crazy, but the guys met at a worship group on campus, and they started writing their secular music during breaks from their class. They might have their faith and songwriting in common, but one big dividing line came up between Brian and Tyler during the 2020 presidential election. And some inside sources claim that the political differences between Brian and Tyler created the worst rift of all. In November 2020, Tyler made a shocking confession to the media. He was basically confirming some crazy rumors, because eagle-eyed fans had noticed that Tyler and his wife Haley had unfollowed Brian on social media. According to Tyler, the reason was purely political. Admittedly, Brian had been making his side of the story pretty clear. Brian and his wife Brittany had always been huge Trump supporters, while Tyler and Haley voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the last election. Tyler claimed that he only unfollowed Brian and Brittany for a few days. This was during those insane days right after the election. Tyler later appeared on the Exit 209 podcast hosted by Stormy Warren, and he told Stormy about some shocking news he had received from an inside source. The source told Tyler that Florida Georgia Line line was breaking up because of politics. Tyler told Stormy that wasn't true. According to Tyler, he even called Brian and said, "Hey buddy, I love you." Tyler claimed that he loved Brian a lot more in real life, and unfollowing him and Brittany was nothing personal. He and his wife Haley just didn't want to see Brian's political opinions every time they went on social media. But according to Tyler, none of this was a big deal, but it sure seemed like a big deal to Brian and Brittany, since they both believed that the presidential election was somehow rigged. Shockingly, Brian had started to put his conspiracy theories on social media, including a crazy rumor that COVID-19 somehow influenced the election results. Brittany, meanwhile, was convinced there was a liberal conspiracy involving Wayfair, but Tyler didn't hold back on his opinions either. After former President Trump released some outrageous tweets, Tyler went on social media and said that the state of the US made him feel sad and scared. Maybe Tyler was scared for a personal reason. After all, he knew that COVID was a really scary health issue since he was forced to cancel his appearance at the CMAs in 2020 because he got diagnosed with COVID-19. Tyler revealed something truly shocking about how he and Brian made their 10-year partnership work. He said he wasn't going to sugarcoat it. For Tyler, the real truth was too important not to talk about. He revealed that he and Brian had done work. If that doesn't sound too shocking, Tyler confessed that he'd gone to therapy with Brian. Tyler said that at times it felt like he and Brian were going to get into a physical fight. Tyler said that's because they were like brothers, and that's what brothers do sometimes. By the end of their therapy sessions, Tyler claimed that he and Brian hugged it out. But in the end, the therapy wasn't the cure for FGL, after all. And even though Tyler alleged that FGL was just taking a break, shockingly, he might have told Rolling Stones the real truth this past January. Tyler told Rolling Stones that he doesn't have the capacity to do his solo albums as well as FGL stuff. He also repeated his claim that Brian wanted to go solo, and that he had asked Tyler for his support. Tyler also claimed something even more shocking. He alleged that insiders wanted to keep the FGL breakup a secret. According to Tyler, that was what caused all the gossipy drama surrounding their amicable decision to end it. Tyler saved the craziest truth bomb for last. He told Rolling Stones that Brian didn't want to be super direct with the fans. That's interesting, since Brian told his followers on social media that FGL would never reunite. But Tyler's side of the story is still compelling, because he claims that FGL's breakup wasn't just because of politics, or some crazy rumor like their wives don't get along. Maybe the simple fact is Florida-Georgia Line has run its course. At least FGL fans will always have a decade of massive country hits, and who knows what the future will bring for these two artists. Did you see Brian's statement about that hot take poll? Which version of Tyler's interviews do you think is the real truth? Would you like to see FGL reunite somewhere down the line? Let me know in the comments below.